Okay, so just did roll, so we are going to move on to public participation. So public participation allows citizens to be heard on any agenda and non-agenda item. The public may also comment during the public participation section of each item. The planning commission shall make no decisions or consideration of action of citizen comments for items not on the agenda, except to refer the matter to the village staff for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for planning commission consideration at a later date. And usually we prefer you take the podium, state your name, address, and try to keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Does anybody have any non-agenda items they would like to make comment on? No? Okay. Next is the consent agenda. So all items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature, will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a commission member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as the first item after approval of the consent agenda. And that is the December 11th, 2024 Plan Commission meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from.
You just said December 11th.
Second this.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Larry. All in favor? Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because I was not here, so.
Okay. Opposed? No, so I guess we've got about 4-0 with one abstention. Passes. Chair report. Chance isn't here, so I don't have anything. Gabe?
I got nothing.
Ian? Maren?
Nothing at this time.
All right. Next is the public hearing, conditional use permit request authorizing outdoor entertainment at the property located at 107 West Main Street. We'll open the public hearing.
At 6:04.
6:01, yeah.
Okay, I will go ahead and let you know that we did post the public hearing. It was posted in the Post Messenger Recorder on 12/19/24 and 12/26/24. I have not included the affidavit of publication as part of the agenda packet because I haven't received it from the paper yet. Can furnish that once if anybody wants to see it upon request, once I receive it. The agenda was also posted at Village Hall, Belleville Public Library, and on the village website on Friday, January 3rd, 2025.
Okay. Is any members of the public that would like to make comments?
Gee, Bacha, I understand that this isn't real clear as to what the outdoor entertainment piece of this is. So I was at Village Hall this afternoon. It deals with noise. Am I correct? All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I had a delay there. Yes, the conditional use permit they are applying for is for outdoor entertainment, which is in table 2 of the village ordinance. And one of the items that we're recommending that be addressed in the conditional use permit as a condition is the, I guess, the noise level or decibels allowed per ordinance.
Okay. I've been here before considering it's under conditional use permit. I look at this and I go, this is like overreach to me because this is a business with Trump. And Mr. Stottleman and his partners are trying to revitalize the community. Now, also, as I was thinking about this in the last few hours, number one is the library has concerts in Library Park, June and July. They don't have to have a conditional use permit, and I don't know how many decibels it's at. Number two, we have a couple of events through the summer that are in Library Park. One is Dave Ace.
Love.
Huh?
Brother Love.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember the name. That also have concerts there, and they don't have a conditional use permit. So I'm going, oh, we pick winners and losers.
No, they all have special event permits that are approved by the board and they all conform to our noise ordinance and all loud noises by 10 PM. So they are permitted by the
And
board.
they're all in public spaces. They're not private businesses.
So,
Even the village sponsored events have the permit.
okay, I'm gonna come back to Solomon and it's
Rich Joseph.
Rich. So in the summertime, basically, your outside music is in summer.
Yeah.
And you start what, April, May?
Well, if the weather's nice, we'll start in April, but if we can get a good weekend, but otherwise normally May 1st is our opening time.
And then it runs till October,
End of October typically, but it all depends on weather at the end.
right? Weather is a big factor in
Yeah.
all of this. So you only have the outdoor activities going on for very few months. The majority of the time, you can't because this is Wisconsin.
This is,
So when I look at this, I'm going, okay. And your hours, I believe I saw are 11 to 9.
yeah, we wouldn't normally be open after 9, even inside. We're more of a daytime place. We're not trying to be a nighttime place.
Okay. And depending on weather, you may not have the outdoor patio open unless somebody wants to sit in the rain.
I mean, people can go out there and sit. We'll have a structure that'll have a roof over it and it'll be right on the river. So I think people will go out there year round because it's so unique. But typically there won't be, there won't be bands out there, after 9 o'clock.
Okay. And that's 7 days a week, correct?
No, we're usually closed. Our other locations we have so far, we've been closed on Monday, Tuesdays, and we're open Wednesday through Sundays. But Sundays we typically close at 6 or so.
Okay. So daytime hours, hoping to get the tourists that come out of Glarus and Paoli or that whole thing to bring them into the community.
Yeah, we try to be, our music is more family friendly and trying to just build a community and bring fans. So
Okay. Now, I also was looking at our zoning codes there, Corey. And actually, this industry isn't anywhere on the non-residential code. I don't find an interest in a industry here that would represent a hop garden.
You mean as far as, when you say industry, you mean as far as the use,
Yes,
right? That's not part of the conditional use permit requirement. But their main use, if you take away the outdoor entertainment, their main use is a permitted use in that zoning district
in that building.
for that
And
building.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
Because things have changed since 1980. We have generations coming up behind the boomer age that have a whole different attitude about what they want to do. They want to be entertained. So our zoning should reflect the generations coming ahead. If you know where I'm going with that.
I don't understand I'm sorry. Can you explain further?
Sure. The younger generations want to be entertained. They want to be able to gather with their friends someplace and be entertained. They just don't go out to eat. Nobody dances anymore per se. even though the Best House does have Sunday afternoon dancing, you dance.
I got some moves. I don't think that's true, but I don't know that has to do with zoning.
Well, the
It's a-
reason I'm saying that is because if we cut off entertainment in this town.
I don't think
Well,
anybody's proposing.
We're not
to cut off
proposing that.
entertainment- Cut off entertainment. This is a special use or a
Conditional use.
conditional use permit to actually allow for all the things you're talking about.
Okay. So in other words, you're saying it's entertainment is not a non-permitted use.
Not in this district.
Entertainment is, what do you mean by entertainment? And I don't
Well, music or,
know. I think the concern here is the potential noise and outdoor dining and outdoor music, right? That could potentially disturb neighbors. So there's a conditional use that basically would align with this business to allow for that.
first off, with loud music in such a small space, the decibels can't be that high.
Oh, no.
That's, yeah.
That's outdoors.
No. The size of the space doesn't matter at all. And the fact that the lake is right there is going to carry the noise across it.
That's a good thing. Because people will go down to that park finally. And sit there in the lower park.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess.
still not following what your point is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something about zoning.
Well, yeah. Did you read Act 40? Is it 76 back?
I know where you're on the 67.
67? Which deals with zoning permits or conditional use permits?
No, I did not.
The state, a number of years ago, made it very specific about how municipalities can use conditional use permits. And it's gotten tougher. So in there, they list what a municipality can issue a conditional use permit and what it can't. Because municipalities prior to that were using conditional use permits as a revenue generating kind of game. Okay. And what I've seen here isn't specific enough to issue a conditional use.
Why?
You've been around here a long time. Do you remember the fellow on East Main Street who has property on the left as you're going east? Who was having a fit?
Instead of a history lesson for comments, we're at like 10 minutes and I'm not understanding what you're asking a bunch of questions and interacting. And this is really intended to be a comment section. I don't understand where you're going other than trying to give us a history lesson on zoning and that sort of thing. But that's appropriate for this portion of the meeting.
Well, I don't think it's appropriate that this group has decided to give Hop Garden conditional use.
So you're opposed to the conditional use permit.
You bet.
Okay, so thank you. Are there any other individuals that would like to make comments?
I guess I'd like to know why you're opposed to it, because I didn't get that from what you said, so I'm trying to understand why you're opposed.
I'm opposed to it because you're picking winners and losers.
How so?
There are other people who have Debbie Bueller Swan. She's got music out there. Do you have a conditional use permit, Debbie?
I don't have music.
She doesn't have music outside.
Well, on occasion you have music.
Andy Zeely will come play outside.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
I
you
think
have a
my
conditional,
establishment is zoned for me. I don't know. I didn't own it, the building, when Andy would play there. I couldn't tell you that. I have not, since I purchased the building, had any music. You
Okay,
have to take that up with John, not me.
Judy, is your concern that it has to go through the conditional use permit process?
Yeah.
And not that you're
I'm not opposed.
not opposed to what's planned, you're just concerned that it shouldn't have to go through the conditional use permit.
Exactly right. Thank you.
I would say that it does because there's a difference between a permanent business that's going to do this type of entertainment on a regular basis, and they don't want to keep coming in for special event permits every single time they have a band coming into town, that they say, hey, we want to codify this and basically say, this is what we plan our business is doing versus a outdoor activity, or say the bowling alley. They had a band outside and they do special event permits for those types of functions. Inside, it doesn't matter because it's allowed for, basically. But what they're saying is, hey, we might have music outside that might bother the neighbors. We want to make sure that we're covered relative to that. I think that's perfectly reasonable to consider that as part of a conditional use for this business to utilize this location.
So what happens if Pat from the ale house wants to do the same thing? He'll have to get a
I
conditional.
would think so if he's going to do, or a special event permit to say, hey, I'm going to have this concert and here's the plan for that. I would defer that to Ian and Gabe, but that's my understanding as to how that would work. I think that's a reasonable approach. Now you're talking about concerts in Library Park or in Community Park. Those are special events. They do special event permits. It's a short term, hey, this is going to be happening over a day, a week. For the library music in the park, there are special event permits over the whole course of the summer for those activities. And that's taken into consideration by the board, I believe, in those instances. But those aren't specific to the property. They aren't specific to a business. They're specific to an event. That's the way I interpret it.
I look at it as government overreach.
Yeah, well, appreciate the input.
Yeah, Dave Eustace. I really don't know what 75 dBA is. What is that?
Decibels.
What is that noise limit? We're here discussing something with a bunch of numbers and letters. We don't know what that limit is. I don't think that anything can be decided on until we hear that number. Let's say we're walking by the street or something, but you can't. You guys are just trying to come up with some way to, if you don't know what that noise level is,
So
what else, why?
yeah, a vacuum cleaner and a hair dryer at 70 decibels, dishwasher is 75 decibels.
This internet search says 75 decibels is open office noises.
It's like the equivalent of that environment.
80 would be city traffic. 5 is a gas powered lawnmower.
So that's not very much at all. And that is to the fence line, whatever, that's something if you walk by, that's all you would hear.
That's what this quick search on the internet said. 105 is a rock concert. So that's pretty, but we're not going anywhere near that. Right. So
Somebody runs by with a gun or whatever and checks this all the time? Is it, is there some?
No, I think, well, again, I don't
The
know.
police department has a decibel.
If you're gonna issue a citation, you need to check it with a decibel meter. If there's a complaint.
You'd have a complaint and then somebody would show up and say, oh, you're actually above the threshold. I'm assuming it would be quieted down first and then,
Start up again.
well, but it would, yeah, I mean, it's just if it's a complaint or something, right?
And then who would be in charge of the enforcement?
Police.
Police department.
Department, I mean, if there are any conditions on a conditional use permit, usually they're put on an inspection schedule. If there's like physical things to inspect, make sure they're still in compliance, but as far as any complaints, it'd be the police department.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not expecting that you're gonna have an establishment running hard rock music day in, day out, nonstop.
No, I will say a couple comments. So one is you can download apps on your phone that'll give you decibel levels. They're free. So, the other comment is 75 is pretty low. In Paoli, we run 85 and, we hit that pretty frequently if somebody has a drum set. But, you know, 75, we'll have to tell all the bands will have to turn it down from what they would normally want to have. So it's definitely limiting already.
Any other comments from the public?
A few questions.
Yes.
Corey, in your write-up here, you have for the general site plan that the updated site plan shows screening, fencing, landscaping that will meet the beer garden ordinance. That wasn't included in their, is there substantial evidence in their application? Is there other renderings that show this? And how can you
Yes.
demonstrate what that is?
Yes, there are,
The fencing?
back in October, they got site plan approval. And as part of the site plan approval, there was conditions that they had to meet as far as Kevin Lord's report from MSA and my comments and my report. And they have submitted subsequent documents that meet those requirements.
So this conditional use permit is not related to the beer garden at this time. So the conditional use permit on the beer garden will have to be done once there's something to inspect. Or beer garden ordinance. So that doesn't really relate to the conditional use permit that we're dealing with tonight.
Well, why did he include it in his review?
Why did I include it in my report?
Yeah,
As far as which part?
that, I'm interested in what the fencing would be, but I understand this, it's not about the beer garden part of it. You're gonna have outside beverages or not?
So they'll be able to buy inside and then take outside.
All right. Part of the documents that were included in this, it shows that there's some fencing on my parcel. That'd be 25B. Or did you consider the offsite improvements showing fencing as part of the cup review?
No, that's part of the site plan review.
All right.
The
I haven't
CUP
approved
covers-
any of those. Go ahead.
The CUP covers the outdoor entertainment.
Okay. I just want to know that I haven't approved any of those changes, even on the site plan. As far as the maximum, I looked at the application and I'm wondering, how did you determine that this permit was to operate an outdoor event and music? It never, not stated in the application or the letter of intent. There's a narrative. Nowhere could I find what they're asking for. So I'm assuming that you want outdoor entertainment and you're going to comply with all the ordinances that are already in place. Because you didn't ask for anything.
I guess I'm not sure the process on that.
The legislative part of this, the village board has already made a determination of what the sound decibel should be. I think where is that here? 615-58. This is a village-wide thing. This isn't just downtown, from what I read. So they've already established what the criteria is. So I'm not really sure how you provided any substantial evidence or even an ask to say you want louder decibels. One of my concerns.
You just mentioned something before you said that there's not anything that outlines their intent at all. I think I've got a copy of a letter of intent with the first paragraph that says the intent for the 1917 garage project at 107 West Main Street is to renovate the site for the business operation of a Hop Garden Brewery, providing its own craft beers, food, and music entertainment. The completion of this project, taking it from its current vacant state to a tourist destination, will bring people to Belleville that will patronize not only this establishment, but other Belleville businesses, adding to the overall economic growth of Belleville. Now, it doesn't reference decibels, but it certainly references music and food and entertainment. Beer.
Okay. When I read that letter of application, what are they applying for the cup? It talks about inside, it talks about outside, it talks about a wish list of hours, it talks about outside entertainment. What, I get it. Where's the ask? Where's the substantial evidence for what they're asking for? It's confusing to me. That, and considering the fact that I wasn't noticed in the proper, my information was sent to the wrong PO box. I got this with a week. So, personally, as long as this project has the proper fencing on all the parameters, I don't have a problem with it. As long as they want to have, the music, well, if you're going to fully exceed that, I have a business, typical hours go 6 or a little after, a professional business. So I don't really think that bumping music or before 6 o'clock is something that's going to be a good thing. And I don't know how often that would happen, because in this application, it doesn't really outline, but I think that the ordinances already speak to that level. I don't know how you condition something that's already spelled out in your ordinances. I don't understand how you do a condition when they haven't even asked for a condition on the noise. They want outdoor entertainment, fine. But my concern is that they meet the ordinances that we already have. So that's all.
I'd like to say something about the decibel.
Sure.
It's not gonna be, well, it's not gonna be from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock. There might be a song or two where the decibel, the drums get a little loud or something like that. But if you've ever been to the Hop Garden, it's usually 2, 3, 4 guys. Never much more than that. It's more Americana kind of type music, bluegrass, things like that. So the decibels getting up and over 85 I feel like it's gonna be very rare. And I honestly feel like the public is nitpicking every little detail about this, where nobody has gone down this road before, and we're all learning how to do it. So if Rich didn't, per se, file the correct paperwork for the decibels, let's help him get there. Let's help him do that. Let's get an understanding out to the public. This is what you have to do, instead of picking apart every little thing. Let's help each other build this community instead of pick us apart and don't help us.
I couldn't agree more.
Same here.
And I don't understand why the professional staff would have allowed an application to be applied that wouldn't meet a requirement, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Any other comments?
My name's Ashley. I'm excited to see what happens and how fun it is. And the family, everybody just wants to chat when they're hanging out, so it's not gonna be that bad anyways.
I think most of us have a concern about liability. if it's right next to your land. And
Liability in what sense?
liability as far as people getting hurt and stuff. And I know that has nothing to do with the sound, but you're kind of like picking on people, some people, I feel like, and, you know, kind of having an attitude. And I think we're just all concerned that our properties are so close together. And, you know, I mean, I have a parking lot in back there and I want to see people get hurt.
Sure, sure.
The people that are drinking, you know, we're just trying to find out more about the project. You know, where the fences are gonna be. You gotta have fences. You can't just have people running around the streets with, you know, drinks.
Sorry, could you state your name for,
Sherry Blaser,
okay, thanks, Sherry.
because I'm all for a new business too, you know? I'm not to put a damper on stuff, but I want people to be safe. And, you know, if I've got a fence and it's on my property and somebody runs into that or gets injured on that, am I responsible? You know, people have drowned in the river back here. It's been years, but they have drowned back there. We've got to have proper fencing.
And I don't know that the fencing is part of the
It's
conditional use.
not, it's not
It
part of
is
this.
not.
condition.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
voice that
No, I think
instead of
that's-
anybody having
that's- yeah.
concerns.
Right.
I'm not as concerned about the noise.
Sure.
And I'm right next door. But I am concerned about the safety.
Sure, understand. Thank you. Any other comments? Let's do that 3 times.
Give me one more.
Any other comments? I didn't iterate it.
And if you'll officially close the public area for me.
Think so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Officially close the public hearing.
6:34.
So next is new business. Discuss and consider the conditional use permit request authorizing outdoor entertainment at the property located at 107 West Main Street. I'd like to start off the discussion.
We're not, I mean, we're not gonna approve any conditional use permit until we have a copy of it in front of us, right?
Right, the village attorney is preparing the resolution for you guys to approve. He doesn't have it for us yet, but
Okay.
the conditional use permit it stops with the planning commission. It does not go to the village board. It's approved by
Right.
resolution.
So do we know what contingencies are going to be in that document?
That's for what you guys have to decide tonight.
So we're providing guidance to the attorney to say, hey, we want it to reference these elements, basically. So to your question, I think would be things that we would want to talk about if we want to talk about decibels or we want to talk about
Right.
hours of operation for music, that sort of thing. So I think that would probably be where I would start personally is I think in the supporting documents that are with the application, it references music will likely be during the weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4, and 5 to 8 p.m., Sundays from 2 to 5. So it's basically late afternoon, evening generally. And I would assume that would be accurate. Maybe on holidays, you might have a weekday that you could have music, which again, I don't know that would impact businesses locally on Labor Day or on.
We typically don't have anything. You know, sometimes the bands get a little long or they
Sure.
got started late and they might go till 8:30 or something, but you know, typically nothing after 9 o'clock. So if you wanted to say 9 or 10 o'clock, that's fine for me.
Yeah, more concerned, I think potentially more concerned about day being earlier. 5, I think, isn't too early to me, but I don't know all the businesses that operate that would be impacted by that from 5 to 6 timeframe. I don't know that there are, but it seems like reasonable to me.
Talking day hours of starting at 4 PM to 9, weekend 11 to 9.
So the conditional use permit would only deal with the hours for the outdoor entertainment. Won't deal with the hours of operation in general for the business, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
It's my initial thoughts looking at, their hours of operation that are listed here. Those seem reasonable for music to me. So if we, make that the hours for the CUP, if hours of operation change, the CUP still, the hours don't change. So, rather than wording it as hours of operation.
Right. Yeah, hours for, it should be
Yeah, it's for entertainment.
for entertainment, for outdoor entertainment. Yeah.
Too, yeah.
It's such a dark area back there. I don't know how much lighting we're gonna have, but
Yeah, I think there's actually, again, this is part of the plan, part of it, but there's definitely plans for lighting back there. I don't think that they're planning to.
That's the thing in the dark.
Because that wouldn't be safe, and I don't think,
and
again,
it's
And the lighting.
really
the
dark
lighting is
back there.
defined- The lighting is defined by code or whatever, so, and we modified the lighting in a way that didn't allow to the west any higher level. We got a Debbie's approval for the llama to have some excess lighting on the east side of the property. But that's essentially, and it's very marginal above the limit, and it wouldn't extend past her property. So, yeah, we're complying with the lighting plans that are expected by the village.
Are adjacent property owners allowed to grant variances?
to defer to.
So an adjacent property owner isn't necessarily a variance is granted by the municipality, but like they can like give their approval of it. They can say, I'm happy, I'm fine with it. They can have their own agreements between each other, but no, like an actual variance is only granted by the zoning board of appeals.
So Ian and I were just talking, CUPs are contract. It's what's in there is enforceable, what isn't enforceable. So you guys need to decide, is there anything that you want to be enforceable? Like, do you not want them playing music on Christmas or Easter or something like that? Like, I'm not saying you do or don't, I'm just saying, is there anything?
On Christmas, that'd be a good winner.
Is there anything that you want, or is there if we times, like, now is the time to specify your wants and desires? Because after this, like what you put in here is what's gonna be enforced. Now is your time to create anything.
Which would be hours of operation, it would be decibel levels, it would be.
Time of day,
Time of year,
time of year.
any of that kind of stuff. It's back and forth.
That's why this process is happening.
No, I understand.
I'm not saying there should be any concerns with that kind of stuff. I'm saying if there is, now's the time.
Yeah, so if we were gonna put those things in, I think so time of year would be probably April to October.
Do we have concerns about, I'm not saying that they're gonna have concerts in the middle of December, but do we have concerns about that? I mean, I'm trying to future.
No, I agree.
It's like,
I
I'm not.
wouldn't want to limit it.
That's true.
Months or
So
seasons. I mean.
let's say the cookie walk is going on and they want to do live music as part of the cookie walk.
Are you having a fire pit out back?
Yeah, there'll be a fire. pit
Yeah,
there.
so, okay.
But also if we always say, like, say in mid-November and it's hitting 60 degrees.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to book some music because
Okay.
people want to be outside.
If a business wants to have like a Chris Kringle event or something, or, have a
Valentine's Day,
or
meeting.
whatever, I mean,
Okay.
I guess limiting
Yeah, no, I agree.
Doesn't make sense to me.
I'll rescind what I said before, so. Strike it.
I'm a little concerned about the decibel level being too low, actually. Not that I'm wanting it to be loud and crazy, but.
So that would have to be board driven.
Right.
That would be changed.
But I have concerns about that.
I really don't think books and queen.
No, but it'll be, I think, to that point, with drums and that sort of thing, it'll get above 75 decibels pretty easily.
And then there'd be a
On
violation
occasion,
of the
right.
ordinance.
Right.
And there could be issues ongoing, yeah,
Right.
but
Not,
could be.
I'm being very nitpicky about it. I don't think anybody's gonna generally complain about it, but that's the reason why we go through the process.
I just would agree something.
It's the decibel level for live music.
Rock band was 105. That's a little excessive. I
It's a little
think.
excessive.
I've been at the football game and it only hits 90, so
And
95. 100 at a really good play.
So if that would have to be done, like Jeff said, that would have to be done by ordinance. Which would require a public hearing and all that kind of stuff, so.
Right. Yeah, 90 to 120, I don't think we're gonna go.
No.
So it's probably something that hasn't been really addressed in Belleville in a long time, probably, right? You know, there probably was a time when 75 was valid, and probably because there's never been, right? It's only been in the last X number of years that lots of communities have started to allow outdoor entertainment in ways that they never allowed before, much like outdoor beer gardens in ways they never allowed before. So, you know, it might be some of those, and I, you know, have had discussions with Gabe and others about, you know, a complete review of all the things that might allow Belleville to be successful would be valuable. Not, we're gonna solve it tonight, but they are things that as village board members, you know, we would hope you're the eyes and ears to help us to build it in a way so people are successful.
Yeah, and I would imagine that even our special event music venues probably exceed 75 on a regular basis. That,
Yeah, I can hear them.
but
Yeah,
that's,
no,
that's it, right, is that
yeah.
that would be outside of our current ordinance. So that's a slightly different topic, but I think that's something I wouldn't want to limit it to below 90 if we're changing that, but I don't know what avenue that takes relative to this conversation.
I could say, in a comment, Jim Schneider, that, your special events, yeah, it's only once or 3 nights in a row, like a community picnic.
Sure.
You hear all over the town. I'm having a good time.
You're next to the 2 miles up.
And this would be every night. How hard is it to come back to the board or to you folks to get things changed? Is that really hard to do, that you gotta read?
I don't think so. I mean, I
I
think
wouldn't think
it,
so. Still, it would.
it would take conversations for sure, obviously,
And you
and
talk amongst the neighbors.
Right.
We'll talk to them.
I would suggest that the meeting would probably be attended more heavily than this is, and even this is a good group. I'm not minimizing that, but I think if that were to happen, right, if whatever we put in place, if somebody comes back and said, like, we want to pull that away, you're probably going to have a bunch of patrons that are going to show up, and you're going to have a people that are bothered by the noise, for example, that would show up. And
You know,
And-
like Bill,
yeah,
I hear at least a good mile out. And it's usually Thursday through Saturday nights I can hear it. I'm making hay or stuff like that. I enjoy it, you know, it's nice that I think myself, I can be so close to it, you know, band there.
Well, we tell our bands, we, you know, we want people to be able to sit at their tables and talk to each other, so.
Yeah.
Very rarely does it get that loud, but you do have some bands every once in a while that
And
get a little bit high. We keep telling them, turn it down.
Song.
Yeah. Normally it doesn't happen. We want people to be able to talk and converse.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're not somewhere where you're just standing there listening to music. That's not.
Yeah.
No mosh pits.
You can expect, you know, a community picnic and to be loud and that and party and.
Right. Yeah, we would never be as loud as a community picnic band.
Carrie Ann Kunder, I would just encourage you to be more concerned about how long you allow them to play than really how loud it gets.
Sure.
I mean, there are families that live on Main Street and have children, and if during school hours and stuff, I would encourage you not to go past 8 o'clock.
That's reasonable.
Especially if they sometimes go over, 8:30. Make it 9, now it's 9:30, so.
And people do have to go to work the next day.
I think what they've requested is reasonable.
Yeah, I think 5 to 8 during the week. I was thinking like Friday night, you're probably gonna want to go till 9, I would think. Again, depends on what's going on, but I'm envisioning, I'm not worried about it when you first open. If this takes off and does well, like we all hope it does, like I can see music going until 9 or maybe later.
Like I said, if the band gets started later or something.
Sure.
or yeah, we'll have them. And we have a lot of people out there. We'll see if they want to play till 9, but
We're gonna reconsider doing Monday through Thursday until 8, and then.
Well, and that's, yeah,
Friday, Saturday.
yes, and I think that's kind of where I would land.
Monday through Friday, Saturday until 9.
Not sure, then
Sunday
Sunday.
through Thursday.
Yeah, Sunday, they're only open
Yeah.
until 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Generally be an issue, I
I
don't
think
think.
that's the way to do it. So,
I know we've got an ordinance issue, but just looking at more comparison charts of decibels for loudness. In my opinion, 90 decibels is a reasonable level. That's a lawnmower. If you got to listen to someone running their lawnmower for 4 hours, that's not music and can get annoying. So I would assume music's a little less annoying, but it could be annoying yet. But
It's actually interesting because current code, anybody who mows the lawn with a gas mower is in violation.
Right.
Oh, it's public work. It's gonna
And
be.
my mower is musical mics.
Mowing
Good
your
lord.
grass is considered a maintenance activity. That's allowed.
I'm.
Everybody's nerdy. Okay.
so Gabe, what was the third thing you said about, or that we should consider? Hours of operation, day or time, or what months or whatever, and what was the third thing you said?
Days, if there's something like a specific day, you don't want anything, but I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
Could be. I have no issues with their application. I think it's been like.
Man. Cause I said Valentine's Day, if it's a 60-degree Valentine's Day, maybe, so I don't know if there's any holidays or any days that we wouldn't want to allow it. I think the main thing is the hours. And then we correct, or we revise the noise ordinance.
We do have a festival district.
It might be,
It's not for what this would be.
yeah,
I'm still saying festival district. They wanted, you just wanted to make this entertainment center.
so we're not looking for motions, we're just looking for guidance, right?
We can draft the agreement or resolution to match their application if that's your desire.
Because the other things that have come up tonight have nothing to do with the CUP, so,
Or site plan.
yeah.
Sure. Basically, it's interesting is you could cite the use permit to making sure that they follow all site plan. Time together. That way, like the fence is the condition of their site plan approval. The continuance of that.
Speak up.
That's it. I'm not sure. Like, you might be able to do something to make the CUP and site plan more enforceable and kind of tie them together is that you make the CUP conditional upon meeting all of the conditions that may or may not be in the approval of the site plan. So like, let's say a site plan requires there to be a fence of a certain height, a certain material or whatever. If the CUP is conditional upon that condition in the site plan, then forever shall there be a fence. So, it doesn't matter if Hop Garden owns it forever and then sells it to somebody else who just wants to have music and take down the fence or whatever, or do whatever it is. Yeah. Oh,
I do follow if we were to somehow move forward at some later date to not require fencing between businesses on Main Street in the back, that would negate
Yep.
the conditional use permit.
no, not the conditional use permit.
Would if
That
it's
condition-
contingent on having a fence, it would.
Well, no, that condition of it, because then the site plan wouldn't require it anymore.
But it's already got an ordinance for fencing.
Yeah, but that requirement, exactly, if you take away the ordinance requiring something, it is no longer required.
That don't make sense. Because conditional use makes it required?
I'm saying like, if we had a requirement right now that required all refuse receptacles to be screened by a fence. It required it village-wide, every, commercial property and then residential properties that couldn't be seen from the road or adjacent property, whatever common language. But if you took away that ordinance, then it's no longer required. You don't have to fence in your receptacle anymore. I'm not saying we would ever do that. I'm just saying, like,
It's an example.
it's just a thought.
So take that again, Ian. What you were saying.
So you have a conditional use permit. One of the conditions is that they remain in compliance with the any conditions imposed on the site plan.
Why would you need the redundancy if you already required it on the site plan approval?
Any redundancy is bad?
Well, what would be your substantial evidence to justify having that?
Okay, let's say a future business buys it and it's no longer the Hop Garden and they decide they want to have, louder music, longer, the same amount of music, but every single night from the time to exactly the minute, and it becomes a nuisance. And it's operated differently and they decide they want to, take down a fence, or if they want to change any other aspects of the site that for whatever reason increase the possibility of a nuisance, then not only it would be easier to enforce the conditional use permit than to go after the property as a nuisance property. And it would be the difference between shutting down the ability for them to have outside music and shutting down a business altogether. Because if you pull a conditional use permit, then you pull that specific condition that it's permitted. You're not shutting down the business necessarily. Whereas if you're going after a nuisance property, it's the business that's included in it.
Because the CUP stays with the property.
As long as as long as the what?
Cups aren't transferable.
What?
They sell the property, the cup doesn't transfer.
It stays with the property.
And
No, CUP doesn't stay with the property, only a variance stays with the property.
Okay.
no, there you have it.
So back to hours, because that's low hanging fruit. Monday through Thursday,
So, yeah,
well,
Monday.
I'm starting at Monday because Saturday and Sunday are different hours. I was thinking Monday through Thursday. 4 to 8. That's seem
That's what I was
reasonable.
thinking. I mean, that's one issue is that we do have some holidays there on Mondays.
Sure. Well, we could
So we
add
can
language
add
for
something.
holidays.
Yeah, we can add
We'd
language.
add language for holidays, so yeah. But, so Monday through Thursday, 4 to 8, Friday, 4 to 9, Saturday, 1 to 9, and Sundays, 2 to 5.
So on
Saturday, 5 to
Sundays-
8, right?
Sundays in Pale, we do have farmer's market, not saying that we would do
Sure.
that here. And then we have, somebody playing a violin or fiddle or something
Sure.
up there at 11 o'clock in the morning. So
Yeah.
just letting you know that if we did try to do something around the noon hour, it's not gonna be a
Are
big,
Saturdays ever earlier than 1?
not right now. We just do the Sunday morning farmer's market.
Who else?
So just to be clear on your hours, so the letter that Denny sent us, the letter of intent says weekend or weekday hours. So I just want to clarify this. Weekday hours would be usually 4 to 9. Weekend hours from 11 to 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then the music will be the hour. Okay, all right.
And there's a lot of usually in there. I
Yeah.
think that's the point, is
Yeah.
that there are exceptions to that, and I'd rather accommodate, not all the exceptions, but
Right.
like, we can say holidays is pretty easy to have language in there for that. But I think it's a good point to say, again, maybe 11 to 5 on Sundays. I would even say
Why not
1 to
11 on Saturdays also? I guess maybe looking at the opposite way, they're like, okay, we're not gonna start music before 9 o'clock in the morning, you know? Not saying that we would start at 9, but you know, that seems reasonable to say nothing after 9 and nothing before 9, something like that. And then that allows us for different events or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, you don't have to fill the whole hours. I'm just saying hours that would be, it's the same thing, basically.
Yeah,
It's
just looking
like,
at the.
if it's however we word it, it would make sense, but I think it's, we're trying to accommodate like what's reasonable, but I think, yeah, before or after whatever time in the morning or before whatever time in the
You're
evening
right.
seems reasonable.
So I'm sorry, I was looking at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and they have a legal opinion about the transfer, being able to transfer a conditional use. So the answer is clearly yes for variances, and it goes into how variances are allowed to be transferred. It says similarly, conditional use or special exception permit generally transfers to a purchaser of a property subject to such a permit. However, some communities impose periodic reviews on conditional use or special exception permits. So the rest of it would be up to the municipality. Thus, the transferability of a conditional use or special exception permit in Wisconsin to a subsequent owner may depend on limitations imposed by the municipality, and we don't have any preclusions from someone transferring a conditional use permit. So it is transferable to a different owner.
So Jeff, you want to read those off again, what you were?
Sure. So what I was suggesting is Monday through Thursday would be 4 to 8. Fridays would be 4 to 9. Saturdays would be, I had 1 to 9, but I think we could even go as early as 11 to 9. And then Sundays would be 11 to 5.
I think Saturdays and Sundays, if you can make it available earlier. I mean, things that come to mind are, the grocery store had the car show.
Right.
And, they have someone sitting out there playing music with, a single speaker and a, acoustic guitar or whatever. And I don't want this to limit being able to do something like that. Or like you were talking, a violinist or something at 9 a.m., I guess,
Yeah, an acoustic guitar, single performer, I don't think that's going to be much of an issue, but we're trying to accommodate outdoor entertainment. I think is the.
let's get someone that's got an issue with it.
Yeah. So maybe we do go 9 to 9 or 9 to on Saturday and then 9 to 5 on Sunday.
And then holidays,
In Evansville, we go to 6 on Sundays. In Belleville, or in Paoli, we only go to 5.
I think
but-
your initial one.
It said 5.
I think
I
we
thought
could
it
go to
was
6.
it's big 2 day, 2.
I think we built it
Yeah, I
a little
think it-
bit bigger.
But then-
in the event
But
that-
then if it's a holiday weekend, you
Yeah.
have music Sunday nights. So that's why it's like anytime you try to do that, then
Sure.
it could limit us on a holiday weekend or something if you try to set us with. So it's almost like you can't have it during this period of time, from 10 o'clock at night till 9 in the morning, you can't have music. That would be easier than the other way around, just because of holidays and way to.
Well, I think we would but like what I was gonna say is on holidays, we would add an extra time. It's like a holiday, you would put in, like a holiday would be, I don't wanna say Saturday hours 11 to 9 or whatever, but it would be more generous on holidays because those are days when people are out and about.
Fourth of July.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm following that. We could write it either way. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me. I'm thinking of it this way just because I'm writing the numbers down. I think the attorney could easily draft it to say nothing before this time in the morning and nothing until or nothing after this time at night. But I think it's gonna be specific to Monday through Thursday is gonna be a little bit earlier in the evening. Friday would be a little bit later. Saturday will be earlier and later. Sunday would likely be earlier and earlier. If that makes sense.
As long as it's not a holiday.
Right, as long as, and the holidays, I think would
Holiday
be,
weekend.
holiday, I think would be essentially a Saturday.
It will be problematic if it's a holiday weekend and on Monday, you know, they had it right. You only
Or Sunday
play till
night.
5 o'clock on Sunday.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah, because we might have music till late.
Yeah, so you could do holiday or days leading into the holiday. Would accommodate that.
Why wouldn't you allow till 8 o'clock on Sunday and keep it consistent?
I don't think,
Thursday, 8.
yeah, I think we could be fine with that, but I don't,
I mean, you just would keep it consistent and allow then for any Monday holidays and you'd be covered.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, I like the shorter hours on the weekdays.
So that's. And decibels, I agree. I think again, that's a different issue that we can't address, but I think we want to go to 90. Would make sense.
So I did a cursory search. New Glarus's code has them at the same as ours, 75.
It's the standard language.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see that a lot. I have some, do some more outreach on it, but like, if they, it looks like they have that stationary noise limit without a permit. They have, it does seem like they might have like a exception or permit process for louder. I realize you wouldn't want to get a permit for every time you wanted to play music, but,
I think Dane County is 85.
and I can check.
That's what we are in POI.
Wouldn't we just work the sort of decibels to keep in line with the village ordinance? And just leave it at that. We don't need to put a decibel level in the cup then. It's just,
Yeah, I don't.
if the ordinance
Yeah, I
changes,
agree.
then
I'm just, correct, yes, I would
You know,
agree.
there-
I'm concerned that's,
That's assuming the ordinance would be changed.
well, it's not only that, but it's like somebody's
it's no
gonna.
different than the ordinance right now. So
What
the way
is
this is-
75 on the weekend, 70, or 75 at night, 70 during the day.
So I don't know how people are gonna react. This is gonna be ongoing music and.
Sure. I don't know that it's every night though. So
What's
I
that?
don't have music every night. It's,
Wednesday through, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays.
but it's not like you're not bringing in like headlining bands for that whole time.
No,
It's
Wednesday.
acoustic.
Thursday is one or
It's
two.
chatting around with a glass of beer and.
Especially if you want the bands so that people can talk at the tables. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, that's the
allowed,
whole
so.
goal. If you can't talk at the table. And we're actually gonna be in a tighter confinement space here than we are in POI, so, they'll have to turn it down no matter what
Sure.
anyway. So, yeah, so, yeah, it's 75 is gonna be very limiting at the property edges. That's basically, my muffler's not real good on my truck and I'm 75 in my truck driving down the road, so, that's not very loud at all. But I mean, we're always open to getting a phone call and saying, hey, it's too loud, you gotta turn it down, and we'll, do our best to get the bands down. But if we've got a 4 or 5 piece band with a drum set, it's gonna be tough to get it down on the property lines at 75.
So can we put a decibel level in the CUP?
It can't be any less restrictive than ours is now. And the blanket noise order.
Okay, so we need
Can't be
to
more
change
generous.
yours.
It's gonna be 75. Change it at the village.
So it can't be louder. You can't change the city
Yeah,
ordinance.
yeah, it can't be louder right now than.
Then with the village
Until
ordinance.
I might as well just leave it at the village ordinance and maybe someday that gets changed.
Well, we changed it, yeah.
I say like the conditional use process and the act that you brought up, Act 67, was put into place so that, you know, people weren't putting crazy restrictions or charging annual maintenance fees on conditional use permits and stuff like that. So you guys can be as restrictive as necessary to head off any possible nuisance. But I mean, just from like the business perspective, you kind of want to leave it just as restrictive as necessary to restrict the nuisance, but let them still figure out their business.
Right.
So, I mean, you guys can always, if it becomes a nuisance, you guys can always pull them back in and you can amend the conditional use permit. If it becomes a nuisance.
And like I said, we do have CUPs that we have a yearly or every other year review on, so.
Yeah.
So.
The inspections of conditions it should be normal, yeah.
Yeah.
How loud is this 18-wheeler when it comes rolling down Main Street? I'm curious. Because I can hear him turning the corner on the 69 heading west.
It's under traffic, which is like 85 decibels, I think.
18-wheelers loud in.
Semi-truck's 100 decibels. Standard diesel engine produces approximately 100 decibels of noise.
Yeah. And all the dump trucks that come.
They got their engine braking, whatever, yeah.
Engine
First class.
We have an ordinance against that.
So isn't it true that any condition they put on would have to be have substantial evidence to justify whatever the condition is also?
Yep, so
Yeah.
reads the statute.
Isn't it also true that the applicant has to supply substantial evidence and it can't be just for convenience or for want or whatever condition they're looking for?
If you're quoting statute, I don't know if that's in there or not, but I mean, it can't just be willy-nilly.
It can't just be, I want this, and then, yeah.
It has to be more specific than
Why it had to
that, but
be
the use itself, is to protect the use itself is set up as, you know, three different ways you can look at it. There's conditional use, permitted use, or not permitted use in a district. And those uses are set up to protect adjacent properties and adjacent uses. So, you know, things being conditional uses here in this zoning district, for instance, are labeled as conditional uses in the ordinance to make sure that it's protecting the adjacent property owners and users. So in a downtown business district like this, you're close to residential. And if you have, you know, residential on top of buildings right across the street, something like that, you're very close to residential. And so you want to protect those uses as well as the professional offices and everything that are there. So it would definitely make sense to have something like outdoor music or anything like that be a conditional use in the downtown business district to make sure that any of those possible nuisances are addressed before they become an issue. And it just doesn't pop up that somebody starts having bands every day. This way, it is a public hearing and a way for the public to be informed that this use could be going on in this section. If you have any issues, come to the meeting and talk about it. Great, so that they can say, okay, well, as a condition to make sure that we address these issues, we're going to say that you can have between this time and this time and to try to reduce the possibility of a nuisance before they start acting out the use. That's the whole purpose of everything. So to be business friendly, we want to make sure that we're not unreasonably restricting their use, but also we want to make sure that you're protecting everyone else that's in this area from nuisance that could result from that use.
Ian, I couldn't agree more. Commissioners, I've witnessed your meeting here tonight, and I don't hear any balancing test or concern for this woman right here who sleeps and lives immediately adjacent. Me, I don't sleep downtown. I sleep in the country. In my business in the late afternoon, and that's a concern. But I don't hear anything entering on your discussion about the residential downtown, about how this translate to precedent to across the street where you'd have a beer garden or an outdoor music venue butting against residential. We had ordinances for that. I don't know what they are anymore. Because when I look on our ordinances online, I come to find out that they're not current. But, you know, the decibels, the number of times, the adjacent to that, I would just like to, a little bit more balance in your discussion for the people that live upstairs. And I mean, a lot of them don't have a voice, or they're not here tonight. You know, we have lower rent apartments, and, you know, I don't hear any consideration for how that would work out, although I do not believe that they're gonna have extremely loud bands, but you know, you start talking about 9 o'clock at night, every night, boy, you know, that's a change. I'm all for new businesses, but boy, how do you fit in? How do you do what you're supposed to do by what we have already? You know, and not just say, well, we're just gonna change it for them. Because, you know, the zoning ordinances and what we have, you know, apparently we're well thought out. And I think adjacent property owners and property owners across the village depend on that. As some type of protection, not just, well, here's the new shiny thing, let's whatever they want for an accommodation. So I'd just like to see a little bit more balance for people that live downtown. At least in the discussion, because, you know, I don't know. What if you go to bed early? We'll say at 9 o'clock, no big deal. Well, it hasn't been a big deal, but that's all.
What are other considerations that you would suggest beyond hours and decibels? I guess help me understand what other conditions.
Well, I didn't ask for that. Well, I'll try to answer.
Yeah, please, because I need
You
ideas.
know, they asked for certain hours. Well,
Okay.
you know, that was their application. That was their veiled intent. So all of a sudden you're like, wow, we're gonna expand it way out. They didn't even ask for that. But it's just, well, I don't think that, you know,
What are we expanding for hours?
You first, hold on a second. You start, and I'm not trying to accuse you of anything, let's be clear. You said till 9 o'clock every night. That's not what we've even proposed.
I can't even follow what your proposal is now. So
So the times that I had suggested, and I'm still sort of essentially standing by these, is Monday through Thursday would be 4 until 8.
okay,
So that's the majority of the week.
how do you feel about that?
Fridays would be 4 until 9. So, because it's a Friday going into a weekend, give them a little bit more time for entertainment. Saturdays is a lot longer because that's like 11 to 9 because they might have music in the morning sometimes. And 9 on Saturday seems reasonable that it would match Friday. Sundays, I think I've written down 11 to 5, but it basically would be in that middle of the day. But then I think when you start talking about holidays, it would be longer. Holidays would probably be closer to the Saturday hours just because people are off and whatever. But I think, again, we would likely craft the language to be earlier on the last day, before, like sort of like, I think that was, again, to your comment about accommodating not just her, but I think there was a good comment made about school nights, right? Is like, we don't want kids being impacted by that either. So I think that's not identical, but very similar to what you're describing. And yes, of course, I'm tying it to the hours of operation, but it doesn't make any sense for us to make, to just disregard the hours of operation and come up with random times. That makes sense. But I absolutely agree with your point, and we do need to consider residents and individuals that aren't even here to say, is that reasonable? Is it reasonable to be, accommodating louder noise, things that might be disturbing 8 o'clock? I mean, I don't know that that's unreasonable necessarily. Again, I don't know that it's, I'm not anticipating, and maybe I should be anticipating, but I'm not anticipating this is going to be a loud venue 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I'm expecting that most of the weekdays are gonna be quiet types of music generally. It's gonna be acoustic bands, that sort of thing, for people to chat and talk, and it'll kind of be background noise for most everybody, whether you're walking by or you're next door. Now, I think I would be open to that. I don't know about other members of the commission, but I would think that if that became a problem, we would want to hear about it because we would want to address that so that we aren't having residents that are negatively impacted by a local business. And I would think that the local business would want that feedback as well, because they don't want to have people, lining up to say, don't go there. They're not considered their neighbors.
And Sherry, didn't you say you didn't have as much concern with the noise as you did with with the liability and the fencing, right?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
issue that we're gonna address.
And I said,
That
I
was-
was concerned if they have, quieter music and stuff, but
Okay.
if we're gonna have loud bands till 9:30.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Then it starts to,
Yes.
And I think we
because I don't think anybody wants to listen to their neighbors
Of
have
course not.
loud music
Yeah.
outside their window.
the ordinance was put in place for a reason. I would encourage you to leave it the way it is, maybe base it on whatever the ordinance is. And at some point, if you change the ordinance, it's going to be open to the community to be able to comment.
Sure.
We don't know what the music is going to be like in a small space like that. Very different than in POI when things can go out. The noise is bouncing outward. Buildings, it's going to bounce off. It may be very loud at 75 because of the close quarters. So I would encourage you to leave it as is and base it based on the ordinance. And if it needs to be changed at a later time because there are people complaining that it's already too loud, or if, they're not complaining and then you want to increase it to be more compliant.
And this isn't restricting anything indoor. This is really more for the outdoor
Right, but the
stuff. So it's the outdoor that will really.
And if to your point, Carrie Ann, that if we would change this is under the zoning ordinance, so it would require a public hearing
Sure.
to change,
Right.
you can't, not like other ordinances where you can just change it. This would require a public hearing, so.
Does that help? I mean, does that help a little bit? I mean, or does it align with what you're describing?
Yeah, I want her to have a voice.
No, of course. Yeah, no, I'm not.
So, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm not trying to speak over you.
Business too.
Sure.
And, I think it's important for me to be so close to the business.
Sure.
So people can get in contact with me, I could go live, a miles away too.
Sure.
A lot of our concerns have to do nothing with what's really being discussed on the conditional permit. I think we have more issues about the easement, fencing. Those are bigger issues for us, which I think we have talked with the administrator and we're going to get together to talk about those things.
Yeah, and that's not conditional use related. That's more plan.
As a resident though that lives close, would those hours that you have suggested be reasonable?
9:00.
8 o'clock on the weekdays, and 9 o'clock on Friday and
Fridays to
Saturday.
Saturdays, 9:00.
If I could be assured that it wasn't gonna be past 9:00, but
Well,
I'm saying.
I mean, that's what that says. Yeah,
That's
that's what the conditional use permit would say.
I'm willing to try.
Because as Rich said, didn't we originally talk 8 o'clock for Friday night, or Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday night? Because like I said, sometimes they run over a half hour, so if we move that to 9, then it might be 9:30, so
No.
okay.
Well, I think you would just have to, if it was 9, you would have to make sure.
Yeah.
Cut them off.
To say that's.
Stop.
Yeah, it's a hard stop.
It's an hard stop, but.
Yeah, we wouldn't book anybody past 8. But like I said, sometimes they go.
Okay, so so usually, we went to 9 just in case there was some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Most likely.
8 o'clock is usually your stop time.
Yeah.
8:30 would definitely, would be the latest then probably.
Yeah,
So,
typically if a
okay.
band starts at 5, very few of them have more than 3
Yeah,
hours.
3
of
hours
music,
set,
so
right.
That's a long set.
Yeah,
so
that's a long.
They don't really want to go longer.
Right,
They
okay,
got started late or.
yeah.
I suggest in a year you review.
That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
That it would be
And then at
reviewed
that
annually.
point, if things are going good, you could go longer.
I would love that. Usually conditional use permits on a whole are inspected every year. So, yeah.
Is that the common practice to get a conditional use for a period of time? Because, I mean, the reality is we're making a big investment in the building and the outside. And, and when you make that investment, you're not
Yeah.
investing for 6 months or 3 months.
Yeah, no, conditional use permit is forever and then. It's just the.
That's what I thought. So I mean, but maybe it's,
Inspection, inspection of it to make sure the conditions.
Yeah, it's just that.
Yearly inspection and review.
Similar like liquor licenses are like.
Yeah.
Like liquor licenses, we review
Yeah.
annually, we require them to renew. That's a little different than this, but it's to revisit it, to make sure, like, hey, is there, is it too restrictive? Is it too expansive necessarily? That's not to suggest that, I mean, there's always the option of taking it away, but that's not the plan of doing it. It's right. It's just to say,
I'm just trying to understand
yeah.
what it is what limit you're putting it on at the end of a year or something when you say something like.
No, just to inspect it, just to say, hey, how is this working out?
Yeah.
That's essentially the.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's,
Rich is.
Yes. No, of course, yeah, I'm not envisioning it that way, but I think it would be an opportunity if we had residents that came in and said, you know what, 9 o'clock is way too late, 8:30, it needs to be 8:30, because like I can't sleep and that's like whatever, that I could see that being an adjustment or, potentially if that was the case, but.
No, what I was saying before with the conditional use permit too, is that it goes forever. So if you were to sell the property, and the business to somebody different, they were to change things around the site plan. If the conditional use were tied to elements of the site plan, yeah, I'm trying to think of it as a way in the future kind of thing. And, being with a business, taking away a site or taking away a conditional use permit from someone is much less impactful than going through the whole thing of being a nuisance property and all of that. That can affect the very livelihood of the business. So that's what I'm saying, like, if it's possible, and I'm not Rick, I don't know for sure, but if it's possible to tie it to fence or lighting or something conditions that we would have in the site plan, that would also help with her concerns, her principal concerns anyway, with what's going on with the property.
Sure.
I just, that's why I threw that out there to begin with, but yeah.
Are there any other elements that we're not thinking about that?
One more thing about decibels, will the front of that business be open? Will people be out on the sidewalk in chairs and tables, conversing or whatever? Will they be outside of the confinement of the building on the,
Not in the front side, I think in the back.
everything will be into the back?
The front's gonna be the glass and the front door, basically, I think.
The facade as it sits today
Yeah.
will be the front. You'll walk in through the doors right in the middle on the front, the way you do today, but there won't be seating outside. There'll be seating inside the front window, but I don't even think the window is going to be operable.
Not now.
Right.
And they could apply for a permit for like a.
Yeah, I would say.
In the future, but that has.
Sidewalk after, or whatever we call it here, yeah.
Would increase the noise if that started to happen. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that the building structure, like if there's bands, if they're in the back behind the building, that there's still a wall between that and the inside of the building to get to even the front. So I don't know that, like, if there's music inside, certainly that could open it up. But I'm guessing that music on the inside is probably not going to be louder than the music that would be on the outside generally, because it'll reverberate on there and you'll be able to hear yourself think.
It's like any other bar having music at night.
Yeah.
So in the interest of clarity and moving forward, so hours, we're at a consensus of Monday through Thursday, 4 to 8, Friday, 4 to 9, Saturday, 11 to 9, Sundays, 11 to 8. Holidays, we don't have really verbiage for.
I have 9 to 9 written on Saturday and 9 to 8 written on Sunday. But I don't know where in the process I wrote that versus
Yeah,
where
I
it's
think we were talking about, because you were mentioning, some holiday stuff that there'd be.
and then holidays would follow the Saturday hours.
Yeah, I think holidays or I would say holidays, and we probably want some language to address days leading into holidays, meaning the days leading into a holiday would be like Friday equivalent, like a 4 to 9.
And I think we could have define
Yeah.
holidays because,
Correct, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, what,
Typically, we treat our, like, say Memorial Day and Labor Day weekends. Our Saturdays are typically very similar to our normal Saturday, or Sundays are normally typical to our Saturday hours. And then the Monday is typical to our normal Sunday hours. Because people want to go home, they got, most of our folks all work, so they gotta get home to go to work too.
I was in a community in Waukesha County at one point, and there was a really popular bar, kind of out in a more rural area, but similar, they had a CUP, and what they would do, and I don't know if this would work, I'm just putting it out there, but they would submit kind of a calendar at the beginning of the year of the days as a component of their CUP.
Sure.
Something like that might work with holidays, either, kind of like if you know what you would want your schedule to be around those kind of days and submit it for like to be in the CUP, or if there's.
I mean, really in the summer, that's when you're doing it. It's not like, doesn't matter when Christmas or New Year's falls because that's too cold normally.
Right. It's gonna be July 4th, because that's variable on what day it is.
Yeah.
Labor Day and Memorial Day are all on a Monday, or Thanksgiving, which is on a Thursday, so you might have something on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, I would think. Maybe, but
Yeah.
possible. But other than that, like, I don't think there's any other holidays that don't fall on a Monday.
I don't know, I was just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Hey,
Christmas.
there's MLK Day, who knows?
wow, then that's where I was going when I was saying we needed to find holidays,
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
Yeah.
This is type of stuff. Decibel wise, am I correct in that it's gonna coincide with existing ordinance?
Correct. It'll be 75 unless the village does something to change it.
And then inspect after 1 year?
You're on an annual basis.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no physical things to inspect, it's kind of like, how's it going? Good. Cool. Going good here too.
Could have that in 3 months after they restart, like in end of May.
Well, I know our society doesn't work this way anymore, but my hope is always that that neighbors would go and talk to each other first before, coming and getting legal action and,
Facebook first.
everything involved. I really think neighbors can work things out between each other, but well, that doesn't always happen, so.
It totally is.
My eyes on the.
Are there any other gaps that we're not covering? That's my main concern.
I had a question, this is Greg Arndorf for Angus Young, architects on this. It was mentioned before of the 90 decibel level as part of it. In submitting this conditional use application, it was in follow-up to Corey's comments on our site plan submittal, where he called out that this should be, noise would be a condition in conjunction with the conditional use for the music entertainment. Is this, from what the discussion is, there's not going to be any conditional use language relating to decibel levels?
So our village ordinance actually doesn't permit above 75 currently, so we can't make a conditional permit use above that because it would violate the broader rule of our village ordinances. We might visit that, but that would happen at the board level to do that. But as a result of that, we can't accommodate it in a conditional use permit because it literally would get capped by the village ordinance anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Getting back to the hours.
Yes.
You posted, would we insert a sentence in there that if a holiday falls between Monday and a Thursday, that it would be bumped up to the weekend hour.
Yep. Yeah, I think
So
that's,
that would be
yeah,
a statement, and irregardless of the holiday,
right,
you wouldn't have to go by a calendar
correct.
if it happened that way.
Yeah, I think we're gonna defer to the attorney to kind of, because he'll have language from other municipalities that
Right,
might align
right.
with that, but I think that's the goal, is to say, hey, it's really the day leading up to the holiday that's the long hours. The holiday ends up being kind of Sunday hours, basically, is what seems to make sense, but definitely a good point. So is there any other guidance that you guys need at all? Is that enough relative to that? So on to the next item, which is number 9, and I will entertain a motion.
We adjourn.
Second. Motion by Gary, seconded by Mike. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:32 PM.